Hello, this is Chris, ZL1CVD. Just wanted to share some new features, exciting new features that I've added to the CatTouch7USB for the Yaesu FT-891. First of all, I want to thank those who have supported me and purchased them already. And just to let you know, there is a bit of a delay in shipping. We're out to about 2 weeks now from the time you place the order to the time that I'll be able to ship. The reason behind that is I'm only being able to make about 2 to 3 of these a day, and I've had issues getting parts and so forth, and the overall response has been overwhelming, quite overwhelming. So thank you very much for your support. If you haven't seen, it's available in a red now as well. You'll only get red if you order red, so don't worry about that. If you want the black one, that's standard. So let's just talk about the new features. It's always had the tune control, and just to recap, the tune control on here is the Yaesu cat control tuning, but as one of the customers pointed out, it's no good if you've got a tuner which requires a carrier instead. So let's just recap how this works. When the button, if you long press of this, will turn the tuner button off, will turn the tuner function off, and see it's turned it off on the rig. That icon's gone. A long press again will turn the tuning feature back on, and you can see that there. A touch will activate the cat tuner. So by cat tuner, I mean a tuner which is compatible with the FT-891, like the Yaesu FC50 or the ATAS 120 tuners, and I think they have got some other tuners that are compatible, and I know some of the MAT tuners can be plugged in and will work off the Yaesu cat tuning. But in the event that you've got a tuner that's attached to your antenna and it's a carrier operated tuner, and you'll know what I mean when I say that, we've added this new feature. So if we tap on config, we go into the config screen, we select, by default, this is how the rig ships. And for those of you who've got one of these, you'll notice the screen's vastly changed. It ships by default in cat mode. So that's what that tune mode cat equals. Now, if you tap that, it will then go into tune mode carrier. And you can see now that it's set to tune mode carrier, and then when we have this carrier hold underneath, let's just go back and have a look at what tune mode carrier means. Tune mode carrier means that when I press the tune button now, for as long as I press the tune button, it will transmit. When I release my finger off the tune button, it stops transmitting. So transmits, releases, transmit. The other thing you'll notice is the mode changes to FM, okay, and the power reduces to the 5 watts. Now, the mode is set, and I use FM mode because AM on these transceivers is via ALC, and it can be various factors come into the ALC, which means that when you set it to 5 watts, you may not necessarily get 5 watts on AM. You may get some other value depending on antenna load and match and so forth, because they all affect, and also the PA temperature, as that all affects ALC. A much better mode to be in is FM, because FM, when you don't modulate, it takes up no more space than AM, possibly even less, and no more space than CW on the bandwidth wise. But it does generate a continuous power level of whatever you set to, and of course that's the power level here. When you set that to the settings here are either 5 watts, 10 watts, or 15 watts. Some of the larger tuners and older tuners require a bit more power. So by default it's set to 5 watts. We also have, okay, so that's where so just to recap, when we tune, that's the power there. Okay, see that 5 watts that came up there? That's the power that it's tuning at, and that power is set by this setting here. Okay, this tune 5 watts. Now, we also have another feature on this tuning side called a time delay. So our tune mode is carrier, and the carrier is set to a timer. Now the time that we've got is either 5 seconds, 10 seconds, or 20 seconds. All right. Now we'll go back to 5 seconds and show you how that works. So now when we press the tune button, it will stay transmitting for that period of time, for the 5 seconds, 10 seconds, or 20 seconds. So it makes it more of a one button tune, if you like, and it will just automatically change mode to FM, get the power out that you want, and send the carrier up so that your carrier operated tuner will work. Okay, and the other feature which I've added, which I thought was lacking on this compared to the original CatTouch, is the ability to sweep SWR for a band. Okay, so at the moment we know we're on 28.880. That's our frequency. So we're on the 10 meter band, and this screen now allows us to test the SWR for that band. But keep in mind, our tune is set to manual carrier here, but on the rig we also have the tuner enabled. So to disable the tuner on the rig, in my situation here, because you probably would never normally have it set up like this, we go into config and we turn this back off to cat, come back here, a long press on here, and the tuner's turned off on the rig. Now we can test our SWR without the tuner interfering. So if we just press the test button here, the first thing it will do, you see it's transmitting there, it will do one or two transmits to warm up the SWR bridge on the transceiver before it starts measuring, and then it will do 40. We can see up here it's going to test 40 points across the band. Okay, and it will plot the chart of my antenna response on this particular band. We don't have a feature yet to store these responses, or to check like 2 different tests. I've gone outside and I've adjusted my antenna, come back in and have a look at it. That isn't in there yet. I do plan to be able to save these plots to a SD card like the original CatTouch, and that will come down a bit later. I just haven't had time to code that in at the moment. But another thing you will note, as soon as it gets above 3, the plot goes red so that you can see. All right. Now, one other thing I wanted to talk about on this screen is that you can test with the tuner, especially if you have the Cat tuner going, or even your carrier-operated tuner. My tuner at the moment, okay, I'm just working out how to describe this. My tuner at the moment is the Cat tuner, an FC50. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that on, and we're going to do another test here. And show you the response of my tuner. A lot of tuners have memories, and this screen and the combination of control with the CatTouch7USB allows you to, if you like, preset the tuner memories. First of all, what this screen is now giving me is an accurate response from the transceiver of what my band SWR is, and we can see here that I've obviously at this point I've activated the tuner, and I've got a low SWR. Over here I've also activated the tuner and I've got a low SWR. The tuner remembers those 2 points, so when I go to those frequencies, even when the tuner is enabled, it will match the antenna properly. But as you can see up here, my response is poor. So if we just stop the test here, and it takes 1 or 2 cycles for it to actually stop, we can see that at frequency 29.27 we've got a poor response because the tuner has never tuned there before, so it doesn't have that in its memory. So what I can do is I can manually go in and touch here, and we'll enter in the frequency 29.27 back to VFO-A, which is 29.27 there, and we will force a tune. Okay, so we've just forced a tune, and now we will rerun our test. And what we should see is another flat point here, because we have taught the tuner that on that frequency, this is what the settings within the tuner should be. So this is a great way of visualizing your tuner's response to your antenna. Okay, it's take us a little while to get there, but we will get there. Oh, in the config screen, which I should have shown you before, we can adjust how many points, but as you can see, it takes us quite a while to get here. So I think it's 40, 60 and 80 points. I just can't quite remember what I put in there, but we should see now here we can see it. We can see this is the point at which I tuned it, and you can see the low SWO. That's the memory kicking in of the SC50. I'm not sure how many memories these tuners have. It probably is in the specs, but it's just something I haven't looked up. Okay, I have added another feature called VNC, and the networking guys will know what that's all about, but it's quite involved, so I'm gonna need to do a separate video entirely on this new feature VNC. But anyway, this firmware version, for those who've already got CatTouch7USB, is available on the catmeters.com website. Go to the CatTouch7USB page, and down the bottom of the page there's a link to take you to the firmware update. And the firmware update is done via a Chrome or an Edge browser. You can't use Firefox or any other browser. You've got to use a Chrome or an Edge browser, and just follow the instructions there. Quite a few customers have already done the firmware update. The very first release of firmware didn't work very well with the HamLab libraries, and that has all now been corrected. So if your CatTouch7USB is having issues with programs like WSJTX or JTDX, then they use the HamLab libraries, and that would have been the issue. So if you just update your firmware, that'll resolve everything, all the problems that was occurring there. All right, and I just want to take a moment to thank you all for your feedback and your support. And until the next video, we'll see you around. Bye.